To join or not to join? That's the billion-berry question asked of nearly every character the Straw Hats have encountered over the course of their epic voyage. And the answer is very rarely yes. In a story spanning 2.5 decades of publication, which boasts over 1,000 named characters, only a select group of 9 individuals have joined Luffy on his quest thus far. Which is to say that although the One Piece world is overflowing with wildly imaginative and entertaining characters, those who join the Straw Hats are special. Each member of the crew left behind their previous lives to join this nomadic found family on an adventure in pursuit of impossible dreams. They are the characters we spend the most time with, and together they drive the narrative forward. So joining the crew in One Piece is a big deal. In today's video, we're finally going to address the rabbit who lives on top of the elephant in the room. This is a topic I've wanted to cover for a very long time, and I may have first promised to make this video more than a year ago. So, is Carrot going to join the crew? Despite her stocks being at an all-time low, I'd still place my bet on her sailing away with Luffy. Many of you may feel differently, and that's okay. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments, but maybe I'll be able to convince you by the end of the video. Before getting too far into this discussion, I will first very quickly address the topic of Yamato, widely regarded as the fan favorite to be next in line. I'm going to release a companion video about Yamato, and I actually agree. Right now, her chances of joining look pretty good, but importantly, I don't view Luffy's desire to recruit about 10 crew members at the start of the series represents an upper limit. In truth, Jinbei likely represents completion of Oda's original vision for the crew at the time publication began. Yamato and Carrot are entirely separate characters. Not only were they introduced in separate story arcs, but their personalities and potential roles in the crew are completely different, which means that despite the next crewmate debate being livelier now than at any point since Water 7, unlike Frankie and Paulie, Yamato and Carrot aren't competing for the same unfilled position on the crew, which means there are scenarios where one, both, or neither of them join. Carrot was first introduced at the start of Zou alongside Wanda, and though she occupies the role of go-between for Inuarashi and Nekomamushi, the rulers of day and night respectively, she's still considered a rookie or novice. Unlike Wanda and Pedro, Carrot isn't considered to hold a particularly high rank among the Mink Musketeers or Guardians. Although Carrot made her first appearance at the start of Zou, she didn't really enter the spotlight until she stowed away on the voyage to Whole Cake Island, which immediately stands out as potentially significant. Pedro had a decided purpose in accompanying the Straw Hats on their quest to rescue Sanji, but a question I want you to keep in mind regarding Carrot is why? Why did Oda choose to include Carrot, who prior to her departure from Zou in chapter 823 had never set out to sea? Pedro had all the hallmark signs of a new Straw Hat. He had a tragic backstory, unique character quirks, and believed deeply that Luffy would someday become the Pirate King. Yet Pedro's journey ultimately ended in tragedy. Though he succeeded in helping the Straw Hats acquire Big Mom's Road Poneglyph, fulfilling his intended purpose, he ultimately sacrificed the remainder of his lifespan to help them escape, an act which profoundly impacted Carrot. In the first half of the Grand Line, Luffy would have heard about the 50 years Big Mom stole from Pedro, beat up the bad guy, restored his original lifespan, and allowed Pedro to join the crew. Brook was originally found in a similar precarious situation, but Luffy took down Moria and freed Brook from his 50 years of solitude in the Demon Sea. However, this is the new world, and the dangers have multiplied. Luffy wasn't ready to face Big Mom when he invaded her territory, and thus the best he could hope to accomplish was to escape with his crew intact, which came at a very heavy cost: Pedro's life. When the crew departed from Zou, Carrot was wide-eyed and eager to see the world, but naive to the dangers which awaited them. But she quickly rose to the occasion and played a prominent role in capturing Brulé, a victory which was crucial to the crew's survival. Most members of the crew were motivated to join by a tragic incident in their past, involving the death or sacrifice of a mentor figure, and though Carrot had not yet endured such a trial, the Whole Cake Island arc could be understood to represent Carrot's tragic flashback instead playing out in real time. Oda subverted reader expectations with Pedro's death. He presented us with a character who had every indication of joining the crew, fighting alongside them on a mission very similar to those found in earlier story arcs like Thriller Bark, then subverted our expectation with Pedro's death. But in Pedro's final moments, we learned the reason he believed so deeply in the Straw Hats, because Luffy closely resembled Roger, the former Pirate King. Pedro previously met Roger when the former Pirate King visited Zou, and though he was too young to set sail at the time, Roger told Pedro he was on the waiting list, because every person has their time to shine. Accordingly, Pedro later formed his own crew, the Nox Pirates, with the stated intention of making ready the path for Roger's successor. Pedro ultimately succeeded in his quest, and in his final moments, passed on the words Roger had spoken to him. Pedro reiterated that every person has their time to shine. He passed on his will or his belief that Luffy and crew are the ones meant to fulfill the long-held Mink prophecy by delivering the new dawn. He then added his own corollary, keep moving forward, meaning he wanted Carrot not to be weighed down by grief or a need for vengeance. She can still move forward by helping the Straw Hats deliver this prophesied future promised day. Luffy then took Katakuri into the mirror world, but entrusted his crew, including Carrot, with protection of the Thousand Sunny until the sunrise. Not only does the entire escape from Whole Cake Island reflect some of the deepest themes in One Piece, it also matches Pedro's stated belief that there is no night which doesn't end in sunrise. Importantly, in the One Piece world, the moon is a representation of hope, a pale reflection of the sun's light in the long dark night, which promises that a new dawn is coming. Fittingly, Carrot revealed her Sulong form for the first time beneath the light of the full moon and held off a significant portion of Big Mom's fleet, allowing the crew to make a narrow escape. After the crew successfully exited the waters surrounding Totland, she had a cathartic moment with Sanji, mourning Pedro's loss, which hasn't been forgotten in the subsequent 200 chapters, as Luffy just recently alluded to Pedro when he assumed his Nika form in the battle against Kaido. So I think what we see in the Whole Cake Island arc is just the start of Carrot's incomplete journey. Not only did she closely bond with all members of the crew, including Luffy, but she very quickly assumed Pedro's responsibilities after his heroic sacrifice. Carrot was matured rapidly by her first voyage out to sea, which alerted her to the dangers waiting on the horizon. Yet Carrot originally departed because she wanted to see the world. For example, she wistfully mused about the giants of Elbaf, a land we know the Straw Hats are destined to visit. It remains abundantly clear that Carrot's journey isn't finished. Sparrow, the one indirectly responsible for Pedro's death, was the only member of Big Mom's crew to successfully climb the waterfall and join the battle on Onigashima. And again, I ask, what was the narrative purpose for his inclusion? Carrot and Wanda rushed to face him, but only the former received special attention. Though Nekomamushi ultimately intervened and defeated Big Mom's eldest child, this battle provided critical development for Carrot. Sparrow indicated that it was the ill-timed cloud cover which deprived Carrot and Wanda of their victory, but he also mocked Carrot in her defeat, warning her that she's too weak to face the dangers of the new world, advising that she hop back home and eat grass. In truth, Carrot's quest to avenge Pedro was misguided, as Pedro didn't want her to lose her life dwelling on the past. He wanted her to move forward, words which resonated with Carrot in her defeated state. Thus, her journey remains incomplete. Although she didn't feature as prominently as I would have expected for a new crew member during the Onigashima raid, her battle against Sparrow nevertheless remains a middle chapter in the unfinished tale of her voyage. Carrot's story was never going to be resolved by attaining vengeance against a pirate who was only partially responsible for Pedro's death. In truth, her mentor sacrificed himself willingly for Luffy, yes, but also for her, and Pedro's words reverberating in her memory offered a sobering reminder of that fact. Carrot can't simply hop back home as Sparrow advised, and thanks to Nekomamushi, she's free from her need to attain vengeance. What remains uncertain is exactly how she will continue to move forward, and I believe the answer is by sailing with the Straw Hats on the last leg of their voyage to Laugh Tale. Pedro deeply believed that the Straw Hats represent fulfillment of a long-held Mink prophecy, the meaning of which isn't yet fully understood. In fact, it would seem the answers can only be found on the final island. We know that the new dawn means the opening of Wano's borders and the fishmen walking the path toward the sun. It means restoring those people to their rightful places. But what does it mean for the Minks? How will the new dawn restore Carrot's people to their rightful place in the world? These questions can only be answered by accompanying Luffy. Though Carrot didn't feature prominently on Onigashima, as demonstrated by sheer number of chapter appearances, she remains one of the most frequently recurring characters in the entire series, which shouldn't come as much of a surprise. She's one of a very small handful of characters to have accompanied the Straw Hats to multiple islands, joining the company of Vivi, Law, Momo, and Kinemon, all of whom occupy a special place among the crew's long-term allies. Vivi is even considered an inactive member of the crew, and I believe she will rejoin them before they make their way to the final island. Notably, Carrot wasn't the only ally to be sidelined in the latter half of the Wano arc, considering Usopp's pretty dismal showing in the battle against the Tobiropo. In fact, Usopp did nothing of significance throughout the entire story arc. Carrot's lack of focus during the second and third acts of Wano remains the biggest detraction against her joining, but I think Wano just wasn't her arc, and lack of panel time doesn't take away from everything we saw on the Straw Hats' voyage from Zou through the first act of Wano. So again I ask, why is Carrot? Pedro could have easily been the one to turn Sulong, helping the crew escape from Big Mom's fleet instead of Carrot. In fact, it would have made for an even more poignant sacrifice to go out in a blaze of glory rather than in a sudden and unexpected explosion. It remains clear that Carrot's purpose in accompanying the crew to Whole Cake Island was to be transformed, to be motivated onto the road of adventure by her mentor's tragic sacrifice. Pedro was too late to join Roger and too early to join Luffy, but he recognized the connection between the two and made clear the path for the next Pirate King, and now Carrot is meant to inherit his will. So here I'll point out a few more important details which support Carrot joining before closing this discussion. First, I will again remind you that Carrot wasn't one of the highest ranking Minks, nor was she considered the most powerful. She was deemed a quick study and prolific for her age by Pedro, who instructed her in a unique form of combat, but otherwise isn't remarkable relative to the amount of time she spent with the crew. So why did Oda invent such a complex relationship tree if Carrot is nothing more than a one-time companion, an otherwise disposable character? In truth, Oda doesn't typically drag along ancillary characters aboard the Straw Hats ship. We can even clearly see the narrative purpose for characters like Caesar, Caribou, Johnny, and Yosaku. But again, there is no such clear purpose for Carrot, which couldn't have been accomplished by Pedro alone. Next, there's already pretty clear evidence that Oda has paid special attention to Carrot among the Minks. Her Sulong transformation in chapter 888 had by far the biggest impact on the narrative, and was given special focus. In fact, both chapter 888 and volume 88 itself were named Lion in reference to Carrot's big Sulong moment. On that note, she's given equal billing to the Straw Hats on the cover of volume 88. Conversely, allies like Chiffon, Capone, and Pudding were placed in the background, which indicates that among the Straw Hats' allies on Whole Cake Island, she received special designation. Oda stressed in SBS that Luffy makes a point to remember the names of people to whom he forms a particularly close bond, most notably his crewmates. Thus far, Luffy hasn't even called close allies like Law and Yamato by their actual names. Yet in chapter 878, in the wake of Pedro's death, Luffy named Carrot among his crewmates when he charged them with protecting Sunny, a sign that he considers her in very high esteem. Carrot has naturally bonded with the crew over time, enjoying close and unique bonds with various members like Jinbei, Nami, and perhaps most notably Chopper. We saw similar patterns with past crew members like Frankie and Brook, both of whom spent an exceptional amount of panel time during their joining arcs with specific members of the crew. The topic of Carrot joining wasn't addressed en route from Whole Cake Island, which I think makes perfect sense considering Jinbei had been left behind and his fate remained uncertain at the time. It would have been poor timing for anyone else to formalize their place among the crew before Jinbei's return. Again, Carrot was front and center when Jinbei made his triumphant entrance en route to Onigashima in chapter 976, and was included in the big on-panel reunion in chapter 977. This point is pretty significant, as this marked the first time the entire crew was drawn together since the end of Fishman Island, published nearly a decade earlier. Carrot would make for a very awkwardly placed 11th wheel in this scene if she wasn't herself intended to join the Straw Hat Pirates. Notably, Carrot has sailed aboard Sunny every time the ship has set sail since she was first introduced, from Zou to Whole Cake Island, Whole Cake to Wano, and Wano's mainland to Onigashima, a point which isn't mitigated by Wanda standing in the background in a few panels. Carrot was also listed among the Straw Hats by Big Mom's security team in chapter 834, which could be a subtle hint toward her future position. Further, when the entire cast of Straw Hats received a Wano-themed wardrobe change in Act 1 and Beast Pirate costumes at the entrance to Onigashima, Carrot was the only Mink to receive this distinction, again closely linking her to the crew. The panel layout where Carrot rushed off to face Perospero in chapter 992 directly mirrored Luffy's pursuit of Kaido, which seems like an intentional choice on Oda's part, and it's again significant Oda brought only the member of Linlin's crew with whom Carrot had a personal grudge to Onigashima, intentionally staging their later confrontation. Despite claims to the contrary, it remains clear Oda has given Carrot an exceptional amount of focus ever since she was first introduced, even if she faded into the background on Onigashima. She has no important position to go back to on Zou, especially now that Nekomamushi and Inuarashi seem to have overcome their differences. She has every reason to still desire a voyage to sea, and now thanks to Pedro's sacrifice, is better equipped for that which lies ahead. Carrot's training as a Kingsbird may even uniquely qualify her to occupy the position of the crew lookout. She reliably performed this duty in the wake of Pedro's death, and Oda even addressed the question of who presently performs this responsibility in SBS. He indicated that the Straw Hats presently take turns between rest, which means Carrot working a swing shift could make her a perfect candidate for this position. One last point I want to make in closing is the special attention Oda paid in designing Carrot. She's a rabbit named Carrot, dressed like a carrot, who eats carrots, which you might say is a bit basic, but shows more intention than other members of the Mink clan. Moreover, it's no small coincidence Carrot's Sulong transformation received so much attention in comparison to the other Minks, because I believe there's evidence this form was specifically designed for Carrot, rather than vice versa, meaning Sulong was designed to fit Carrot, rather than Carrot designed to fit Sulong. There's a direct mythological connection between her all-white full moon transformation, which isn't shared by the other Minks. Carrot is based on the Japanese myth of the moon rabbit, which originates from the shape of the lunar mare, or seas. These dark indentations on the moon's surface resemble a rabbit, which inspired the legend of a mythical white rabbit living on the moon's surface. This same legend gave rise to Kaguya in Naruto, Usagi Tsukino or Sailor Moon, Boss Rabbit in Dragon Ball, and the Brutals in Mario Odyssey, among others. The fact that such a prominent legend inspired Carrot's design is important, and perhaps signifies the fact that she will play a prominent role in fulfilling the New Dawn prophecy. After all, Sulong is referred to as the Mink's true form, and there's some evidence there were once multiple celestial objects orbiting the skies freely. Thus, perhaps fulfillment of the Mink's New Dawn prophecy means restoring Sulong to its natural state. Lastly, I'd like to point out that Carrot's design seems to take particular inspiration from Dragon Ball's Son Goku, joining a trio of characters which borrow elements from the main protagonist from the story which inspired One Piece. Luffy's family name Monkey refers to Son Goku, the Monkey King from the story Journey to the West. Just like Goku, he most enjoys eating and fighting, and eating. Don't get me wrong, Luffy is still very unique, but there's no doubt he took cues from the also lovably hard-headed goofball who served as Dragon Ball's main protagonist, ally to good, nightmare to evil. Luffy's recently deployed mythical Nika form even takes inspiration from the same myth of the Monkey King, referred to as Son Goku or Hanuman, on which Dragon Ball's Goku was patterned. Nami also takes inspiration from Son Goku in the form of an extending staff weapon and a flying cloud, and it would seem Carrot similarly owes some elements of her design to Son Goku. Her moon-based transformation references Uzaru, but it doesn't stop there. The scene from chapter 888 closely resembles Goku's first Super Saiyan 3 transformation, including long flowing hair and static electricity. Sulong grants her Super Saiyan-like powers in the form of flight and electro-generated sparks. Perhaps most importantly, just like Dragon Ball's main character, she's named after a carrot, Kiroto and Kakaroto respectively. It seems notable Oda would include a character inspired by and named after Goku among the central band of protagonists. For a long time, I believed that a quartet of characters representing those entrusted with road poneglyphs would join Luffy's crew. We already have Jinbei from Fishman Island and Zoro from Wano. Yamato could have some ties to Elbaf through the ancient giants, and Carrot would represent the Minks from Zou. This point is of course just speculation, but I thought it was worth mentioning in closing. So I know my analysis in this video seems fairly one-sided, but at this point I think most readers need some convincing that Carrot is destined to continue sailing with the Straw Hats. Right or wrong, I believe the special attention Oda has given her character is leading to her joining. Maybe she'll even stow away again, to be sworn in when the Straw Hats sail from Wano in high spirits. It's only through the Straw Hat Pirates she can keep moving forward as Pedro wanted, to see the world and help its fated heroes someday deliver the new dawn. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please leave a like. If you want to be notified when future videos are posted, please consider subscribing. It really helps this channel grow, and I really appreciate your support. But most important, what do you think about Carrot joining the crew? Is she going to join, or is she not going to join? Make sure you let me know your thoughts down in the comments.